And there it is. Wonderful. Okay, before we jump into the content, I wanted to go over the agenda and some housekeeping items. So we're going to start by going over some high-level basic information about FSC and the Promotional Licensing Program. We will move into some examples on how to use your promotional license and the application process, and then we'll dive a little bit deeper into the ins and outs of your promotional license. We'll go over submitting supplier verifications, trademark approvals, and we'll even touch a little bit on product label usage. Finally, I will highlight some exciting things coming up here at FSC before opening up the floor for questions. If you do have questions during the presentation, I just ask that you either jot them down or go ahead and put them in the chat, and then we can address it at the end during the Q&A session. I've only got about 20 minutes of presentation for you. I do want to leave a lot of time for us to go through any questions or feedback you may have on promotional licensing. And last thing before we jump in, quick introductions. I'm Maggie Abel. For those who don't know me, I am the Senior Marketing and Engagement Manager for FSC US, so your main contact for all things promotional licensing. And I am joined by Kate, who recently joined our team and is going to be assisting with promotional licensing moving forward. And then we have Jenna as well, who is our technical expert on all things chain of custody and trademarks. So getting into it, for those who don't know, FSC is a member-run global organization dedicated to promoting environmentally appropriate, socially beneficial, and economically viable management of the world's forests. As I said, FSC is member-run, and we have 3 balanced chambers between those: economic, environmental, and social. Anyone can apply to be a member of FSC, and we strongly encourage all promotional license holders as well as certificate holders to become members, so you can have your voice heard and participate in the governance of FSC. So if you'd like any more information on membership and becoming a member, please let us know and we'd be happy to follow up with you after. FSC is the most credible, sustainable forestry solution trusted by NGOs, consumers, and businesses to help protect healthy and resilient forests for all forever. And this next slide is pretty text heavy, so I'm not going to read all of it to you, but we can definitely make sure it's available after for you to reference. This goes into some of the details as to why you may choose FSC from being the most trusted for a certification, highlighting some of the proven protections and safeguards that we have in place. Jumping into a few statistics showing consumers and businesses are prioritizing sustainability and highlighting areas where FSC is a benefit. You can see that 65% of top global corporations surveyed ranked climate and sustainability as a top priority, and 52% of global citizens surveyed don't think that businesses are doing enough to address climate change. 77% of global consumers, however, have confidence in FSC to protect forests, and 80% of consumers who recognize FSC say they would actually trust a brand more if they offer FSC certified products. So you can see that there are plenty of statistics backing up the fact that consumers are asking for more sustainable product options, and even FSC in particular. I'm going to move into some details about the promotional license holder program. Some of this may be information that is repeat for some of you, so I won't spend a huge amount of time on it. The promotional licensing program is aimed at brands and retailers who want to promote the FSC certified and labeled products that they use or sell. Some of our current promotional license holders are listed here, so you can see it's a wide variety of brands and retailers. There are many benefits to being a promotional license holder, including building trust and credibility, creating awareness, and differentiating your business and products within the marketplace. There we go. With a promotional license, you not only get access to the FSC logos and other trademarks to use in your marketing, but you also get access to other materials highlighting how to leverage those trademarks. Additionally, all of your statements and communications are reviewed by FSC, ensuring they are credible and substantiated. And you also get access to FSC's global network for support on things like sourcing. Now I'm going to jump into a few of the different ways that you can use your license to promote your FSC certified products. In-store is an example. You can use display boards, other in-store signage to highlight the certified products that you offer. Online is probably the place we see most companies choosing to promote their products. This is an example from Target. You can see they are highlighting their FSC certified furniture on their website. And similarly, you can see an example from Crate and Barrel here. They have a whole page dedicated to their work with FSC. Social media is another place we see promotion happen often. You can use the FSC trademarks in your social media campaigns and posts to highlight the certified products that you offer. And finally, whether it be digital or print, you can promote in brochures, magazines, and other advertisements like that. Okay, moving into how to apply. So for those who are not current promotional license holders, the application process is relatively straightforward. You would submit your application and we're available to help you through that process of gathering documentation and filling out the application. Once that has been submitted and approved, you sign a promotional license agreement, and then you will receive access to the logos and trademarks to use. And then you get to go off and use those in your promotions and highlight the FSC certified products that you sell. And for those who don't know, my contact information is listed here on this page as well. Okay, now I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into sort of the ins and outs and some of the procedures that go along with promotional licensing. Starting with supplier verifications. So this refers to submitting documentation for your suppliers. Now, this occurs when you apply for the license, and then anytime during your license that you want to add new products or suppliers to your license scope. So there are three main items that need to be submitted during this. First is a list of products that you want to be verified, and this should include the name of the product, a description, and then a unique product code, whether that be an ASIN or a UPC or any other code that you use with your business. This can be submitted in the form of a Word document, PDF, spreadsheet, anything like that. Next, you do need a corresponding supplier letter or invoice. We're going to get into the details of that in just a minute. And this must coordinate with that list of products. So whatever products are listed on the supplier letter or invoice should be reflected in that list of products you submit. And then finally, when available, we ask for sample images of these products that show that FSC label visible to the consumer. Okay, getting into a sample supplier letter. So here are a few key things to note when submitting a supplier letter for verification. So where possible, it should be printed on your supplier's letterhead. This is a letter that your supplier should be filling out and providing for you. So again, when possible, it should be on their letterhead. It should be dated. That is very important. And then before you submit the letter, you should go to search.fsc.org to look up the supplier and verify all of the information is correct. So you can see a little bit lower the product information. So the product code and name and description, again, should correspond with that list of products you've provided. The FSC license code on the label should always begin with FSC and then C. If for some reason you are being told that it's going to have FSC-A, you know that is incorrect. So make sure that it does start with that C. Most cases, that license code on the label is going to belong to the certified supplier you are working with. However, there are some times that it would be a different license code printed on the product. The FSC claim must also fall within your certified supplier's product scope. Again, this information can be verified at search.fsc.org by toggling to the product tab. You can see a list of the products and those FSC claims that are within their scope. And then finally here, just one more question where we verify that the FSC label is on the product or packaging and is visible to the consumer. Okay, moving on to a sample invoice next. So this is the other accepted form of supplier verification. A few things to note on the invoice side. Again, it must be dated, and this should be coming from your certified supplier. Now, this is not meant to be a template in any way. This is sort of just an example. It's going to look likely pretty different than what you're getting from your supplier, but this does highlight all of the information that should be there. So again, should be coming from your certified supplier. Their certificate information, again, can be verified at search.fsc.org. With the invoice, pricing information can be redacted if you choose. However, that is the only piece of information that should be redacted from the invoice. Moving into the product information. So each product that is being sold as FSC certified should be clearly identified as FSC certified, and the certificate information and FSC claim must be included. So it could appear like it does in this example where there's a product, it's clearly marked as FSC certified, then there's an asterisk, and then the FSC claim of mixed credit and the certificate code is included below. Often we see it as, one line item where that information would be included all in one line item with the product. So like I said, it may look a little different depending on your supplier and how they issue invoices, but that information should be included somewhere. And again, the products that are being sold as FSC certified should be clearly identified as such. Okay, now quickly, we're going to talk about on-product labeling. So on-product labeling is outside of the scope of promotional licensing. And what I mean by that is only FSC certified companies can print and place the FSC label on product. However, as the brand and retailer selling these certified products and likely working with your supplier on artwork and things like that, it is important for you to know kind of what to look for and what the requirements of the FSC on product label are. So you can see the required elements listed here: the FSC logo, the FSC claim, mix, recycled, or 100%. The product type, you can see examples here are packaging, paper, and wood. And then again, that FSC license code, that should begin with FSC-C followed by 6 digits. Now with on-product labeling, the FSC standalone logo, just the tree and check mark, should never appear on a product unless this full label is also somewhere on the product. It may also be helpful for you to review the trademark standard for certificate holders. This can be found in the FSC Document Center, and we'd be happy to point you to it if you would like. That is the requirements that all certificate holders must follow for using the trademarks, and it does outline all of the different requirements for using the label on product. So it can be very helpful when you're working with them on different graphical requirements and things like that. Okay, jumping into some trademark usage approvals. So this is kind of the meat of your promotional license. Anytime that you wish to use the FSC trademarks, which include, as you can see here, the various logos, but also the initials FSC and the name Forest Stewardship Council, they must be approved by the FSC US office. So we can typically do reviews within a couple days. However, we usually say about a week turnaround. And the more lead time you can give us, the better for approvals, and also letting us know kind of what timeline you are working with when you submit it is super helpful. So these approvals would be submitted via email, and they can be in the form of an attachment, a screenshot, or a link to where something lives. Any of those options are completely fine. And it's very important that you review the trademark use guide for promotional license holders, as that is going to outline all of the requirements for using the trademarks in promotion. Again, that is also available on the Document Center, and if you don't have access to it, we'd be happy to point you there. Going to get into a few common mistakes that we see with trademark usage. The first one is forgetting to include your FSC license code. So as a promotional license holder, you are issued an FSC license code that begins with FSCN. That stands for non-certificate holder. So as opposed to an FSCC license code that we would see for certificate holders, yours is FSCN. And this must be included in any standalone promotion you would do. So anything that is not tied to a website or some other place where the code is listed, must have the code there. On your website, it does only need to appear technically one time or on one page on your website. And for social media, as long as your social media post or account points back to your website where that code is visible, it doesn't need to be on every social media post. Now, those are the technical rules. I do encourage companies to err on the side of using your license code more often than not. As I mentioned, you receive this code as a promotional license holder. Brands and retailers who are not promotional license holders do not get this type of code. And so this really lends credibility to all of the promotions that you put out. Any consumer can take a look at this, look up your company in our database and see that you are a valid promotional license holder and know that the claims you are making are substantiated by FSC. So again, I recommend using it more often than not, because I do think it's a really strong benefit of the promotional license, and it just adds that layer of credibility to your communications. The second common mistake that we see is forgetting the proper registration mark. The rule for this is that it must appear after the first and or most prominent use of FSC and Forest Stewardship Council. And I kind of emphasize the and, because if in text you're saying both FSC and Forest Stewardship Council, it does need to appear after the first or most prominent use of both of those terms. Now here you can see I have listed the circle R register mark. That is what is used in the US. However, if you do have promotions that are country specific outside of the US or more global in scope, there may be a different registration mark. It may be the TM that should be used, and we can work with you and kind of walk you through what that should be. There is a list on the trademark portal that all promotional license holders have access to that does highlight which countries use which registration mark. So that's just a note, and again, we can always walk you through that. The third common mistake that we see is placing the FSC logo on a patterned background that doesn't allow for proper legibility. So I've included some examples here where you can see that third example is on a patterned background and it's quite hard to see the logo. The general rule is that the FSC logo should not be used on any patterned background. However, we often do sometimes see the FSC logo placed over a forestry image or an image of a product. So it's a bit subjective as long as there is the proper legibility. That can be done. However, again, I always point companies to the second example here as probably the best use case. If you're going to use it on a patterned background, just put a little colored FSC colored box underneath. You can see kind of examples in our backgrounds on our Zoom backgrounds here too. You can see that there's, that background underneath the logo. So that is always what I recommend, to err on the side of, not having any confusion with the legibility. Finally, with the logo, oftentimes we see the minimum clear space not being adhered to. So this image here shows the minimum clear space required around the logo, and it's equal to the height of the letters FSC. So this is basically just saying that you can't have text or other images or logos closer to the FSC logo than that. That is the clear space that must be adhered to. Okay, the final thing in sort of the ins and outs of promotional licensing that I'm going to touch on is climate pledge friendly. So if you do not know, this is Amazon's sustainability marketplace where products can be badged under various certifications. FSC is the only forest certification recognized, and to be eligible to receive the Climate Pledge Friendly badge with FSC, you must be either a valid promotional license holder or certificate holder. Your products, not packaging, must be certified and labeled. At this time, Amazon does not recognize FSC certified packaging for badging in this program. And there are also a few other product types that are excluded by Amazon. For a full list of those, you can reach out to us and we can provide that for you. Now, to be involved in this program, FSC has created a certified products portal that as promotional license holders, you can enroll in and upload your products for badging. So we have instructions and some video tutorials on how to go about that process. We'd be happy to share those with you as well. Okay, that is what I have for sort of the ins and outs. I have a couple exciting things to share that we have coming up at FSC, and then we can jump right into questions. So currently, you may have seen some posts from our channels or other partners, but we are in the middle of Forest Week. This happens every September. It is an annual campaign where we encourage brands and partners of ours to showcase their support for FSC. So promotional license holders get access to a toolkit of assets that we develop that can be used on social media, email signatures, website banners, things like that. So if you are interested in making a last minute post, the campaign does end tomorrow. But if you are interested in doing a last minute post, please let me know. I'd be happy to get those assets over to you right after this call. And finally, we have an exciting event coming up in October, our FSC North America Conference. This takes place in Nashville, Tennessee, and it's open to all interested parties. We are going to have programming on all things FSC, from preparing for the 2025 General Assembly to the latest topics, policies, and advancements within the FSC system. And we're also going to be celebrating the 30th anniversary of the Forest Stewardship Council with a party. So it's going to be a really, really fun and informative conference. So if you're interested in learning more about attending and registering, please let us know, and we can follow up with that information as well. Wonderful. So that is what I have from my side. I want to go ahead and open it up to questions and feedback at this time. We are working really hard to increase the level of service we are providing our promotional license holders. So we'd love to hear from you on what resources would be most beneficial for us to provide. We are in the process of creating new toolkit materials, which will include many of the things we just went over in this call, including the information on sample supplier letters, invoices, etc. So at this time, I will open it up. If you want to raise your hand and unmute and ask your question, or throw it in the chat, we can do that as well. So I'm just going to open the chat here. Okay, so we've got requests for, so yes, the presentation is being recorded, and we will be sharing that out afterwards. We can follow up with this information. So the Climate Pledge friendly information, if I'm not sure if perhaps Jenna can throw that in the chat. We do have a web page for that. Otherwise, I can follow up with that, with the sharing screen. I have a few things going on. It's a little bit harder for me to pull the link. For that. If you want the Forest Week assets, please do send me an email. We do need you to fill out a quick registration form. So it's just easier if you do reach out to me specifically for that. Okay, I'm seeing a question. And Kate, interrupt me if anyone has a hand raised, if you would, please. I'm in the chat right now. So I see a question from Caitlin. We don't need the full label on a product if there's no FSC logo on the product at all. Oh, and it looks like Jenna's been already answering these questions
Yes,
in the chat.
I think I'm all set. Thank you,
Okay,
Jenna.
wonderful. Thanks, Jenna. Okay, I'm seeing a question about the cost of a promotional license. So that varies quite a bit depending on your organization. So it is determined mainly by your organization's revenue and the number of countries you promote in. So I'd be happy to share the pricing structure with you. We have a table that kind of outlines what that looks like. How often do we need to submit invoices from a supplier? Once a year for every shipment. So you only need to submit it if it changes. So if your supplier is providing you a product that is going to be the exact same every single time you order it, it can be submitted once. We will be checking in with you at a minimum of once a year just to see if anything has changed with your license. But if it stayed the same, then you don't need to resubmit it. Okay, bear with me as I go through these. So you do not need a supplier letter and an invoice. It can be one or the other. I would say in general, we see companies choose to go the supplier letter route just so that they're not sharing, their invoices out, but either one is fine and it does not need to be both. And I think, okay, so this is a question that I'll answer and then I'll have Jenna just confirm that I'm correct on this. If the product and packaging are both FSC certified, is it okay to have two FSC labels side by side on the packaging? And that is allowed. Yes.
And you can also just have one. So it's both ways are acceptable.
Mhm. So that is up to you. So for climate pledge friendly certification, does the FSC license code need to be visible from the outside of the packaging to be approved? Or can it be on the reverse of a printed insert inside of clear wrap placed on top of the product? I think that would be okay as long as it's visible to the consumer. I think having it printed on an insert that's then clear wrapped over would be acceptable. Jenna, am I incorrect with that?
Nope, as long as it's visible from the outside. There is an exception. So for pharmaceuticals, they can actually use the FSC label on the inside of the packaging. And for certain other companies that have very long environmental compliance things, and so there's no real estate on the outside of the package, that there are some exceptions, but in general, it does need to be visible to the consumer on the outside of the packaging. And so it could be on the packaging, or if there's a wrap on top of it, that would be acceptable too.
Perfect. Thanks, Jenna. So promotional license holders do not have audits that they go through. Again, we will check in with you, like I said, at a minimum of once a year. So a promotional license is a 5-year legal agreement and you have an annual fee associated with that. So you are invoiced annually. So around that time, at a minimum, you'll hear from us asking if there are any changes to your license scope, your annual revenue, things like that. But there is no audit that happens. So if no on-product label, then no ability to promote the product, correct, even if the product is certified. Yes, that is correct. One of the eligibility requirements for a promotional license is that the product carries an on-product label. Okay, I think I hit all the questions so far. If I missed anything, please let me know. Again, if you have questions that you would like to ask, feel free to raise your hand or just unmute yourself and jump in. I'll give you guys a couple minutes here if you are thinking of questions, anything, and I can go back in the presentation and go back to any slides if there was anything that you wanted to revisit.
So the Amazon Climate Pledge Friendly, I was not sure if we had it on our website. We received some new material from FSC International and Amazon about what qualifies as products and things, just a little bit more detail about that. So I'll let Maggie follow up and how she's going to share that information with you. Or if it's posted on our website, the link. And while we're waiting, I will add that, so we're talking about how most of our promotional license holders use the promotional license to promote products that are FSC certified. They cannot sell them as certified, but they can say that this was made as certified. But we do have some promotional license holders that either have procurement claims or they're wanting to use the FSC in their CSR reporting or something like that. So in those cases, their products may or may not have a label. It's not part of the requirement in that context.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for clarifying, Jenna. And I just put in the chat the user manual for the certified products portal. So that kind of gives you sort of an outline of the steps in enrolling in the certified products portal. And as Jenna mentioned, we do have sort of a PDF guide that outlines the program, excluded products, things like that, that I'd be happy to send around. So again, feel free to just reach out to me if you'd be interested in seeing that. Right, so give us a couple more minutes still if you have questions that you think of. Okay, and this is exactly why I wanted Jenna on the call. Can you talk about FSC trace and EUDR? Jenna, would you be willing to give just a couple minute kind of overview of what that's going to look like for promotional license holders from what we know at this point?
Sure. So as you probably heard before, everything's fluid. FSC Trace was previously called blockchain. So this is how information can be recorded from when the log is harvested all the way until a final product. Now, the only entities or companies that are going to have access to this information are certificate holders and promotional license holders. So we were told originally that it was going to be released in October. Our latest and greatest news I've heard is November for certificate holders, and then they wanted to stagger it about a month for promotional license holders because they wanted to work the kinks out of the system before they allowed promotional license holders access to use that platform, because promotional license holders are at the end of the certification process or the end of the supply chain, and that can get very complex and convoluted. It could still be earlier than end of November, but that's the latest information that FSC International has put out.
Mm-hmm.
And that is supposed to help meet the geolocation, the harvest information, species, and then volumes. And that information can then be used to meet the European Union deforestation-free requirements, which are slated to go into effect January 1. There has been lots of rumors about possible delays. I was on a webinar right before this one, and the latest I heard was the World Trade Organization was told there will not be a delay. But we still don't know if there'll be a... Right now, there are so many questions on how the implementation is going to happen, and the tools that the European Union has promised to roll out have not been rolled out yet. So we know that there's going to be likely glitches in those tools. So we're all just waiting. And the FSC.org, which is our FSC International website, and does have web pages completely devoted to EUDR, recorded webinars, and all the assets and information we currently have.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Jenna. And I'm going to throw our newsletter subscription link in the chat as well. If you're a promotional license holder, you should already be on this list, but it doesn't hurt to go in and just subscribe. Again, as there are updates on EUDR, that will definitely go out in our monthly newsletter. So that is a great place to look for information as well. Cool. Give us just another couple seconds here of silence to think if you've got any questions. I won't keep you too much longer. If there aren't any other questions, give you a little bit of time back. But again, we're really open to any feedback that you may have, things that you think would be helpful, resources, etc. So if you think of something after this webinar ends, please feel free to reach out and let us know. We're, again, always looking for that feedback, and we're always happy to set up one-on-one calls as well if you would rather talk through anything in that format as well. And then while I have you guys, I think I will also throw the Forest Week registration link that some of you were requesting into the chat as well. So you have that. Again, you can still send me an email and I'd be happy to get that to you that way. But I'll just, since we're here, I will put that in as well.
I have a question for Maggie. How are you going to share this recording and information out?
Yes. So I will be taking a look at everybody who has attended this webinar, and I think I should be able to, I have all of your, since you did register to attend, I have your contact information. So I will be following up with everyone who registered with a link to this recording. I don't know that we'll maybe post it on our website somewhere, but I'll make sure that everyone who has registered and is here, it gets a link to it for sure. Wonderful. Well, if there are no other questions, I think we can go ahead and wrap it up for today, give you a little bit of time back. So thank you very much for attending. This is the first of hopefully many of these webinars that we will be hosting over the next year. We're going to be looking at doing more in 2025. So again, always open to feedback from promotional license holders and those interested. And again, if you have any other questions regarding promotional licensing or really anything FSC, please do let us know. Thanks, everyone.